Cool. Can you hear me? Okay, so my name is Celia. Here? Is that good? And do I need to do something? No? It's good. Hello? Okay, so my name is Celia, and I was the last member to join YAM. I am now 21, and I have graduated from the Otago Polytechnic with a Bachelor of Architectural Studies. So feel free to ask any questions as I go, because I'll be throwing quite a lot of stuff at you. Alright, so a quick overview. The course is 3 years long. The first year is very busy with a lot of subjects, including design, communication, science, documentation, contextual studies. On top of that, it was of course my first year out of home, and I sat the highest ballet level and the highest jazz level. So it was a big year for me. Over the years, the subjects dropped down and there was a lot more self-directed learning. So, it's really split into two fields, the design and then the documentation. So I'll take you through what a design project looks like at the Polytech. You start with a brief. That is a statement and a description given by a client. We either made one up ourselves or our lecturers gave us one. Then we do research, so that's into the context of the city, the surrounding buildings, the program, what it's going to be used for. Then we do a site analysis. So we go to the site in person, we take lots of pictures, we look at the topography, if there's big buildings next to it that's going to restrict sunlight, all those things. We make a sun path that's normally done on our computer, and it shows us how much direct sunlight the site will get, which helps us decide where we want to put our building. Then we can start doing concepts, so that's usually done by hand. We do sketches, diagrams, spatial planning. Once we get an idea of what we want to build, we then start putting it into our computer. So we have a really advanced software that the Polytech provides us with and we learn how to use. And the great thing about that is that everything is always to scale. And so you can print off pictures and everything will be in proportion, and you can draw on top of it, annotate it, all that. And that leads us into development, and that's the biggest part, and that takes the longest. You're constantly changing it. Some days you'll spend an entire day working on something, and then the next day you get told it's rubbish and you just click delete and you delete the whole thing and start again. That's happened many times, and there's many tears. Once it gets close to due date, you start thinking about how you're going to present your work. So every design project we did, we had to do a verbal presentation in front of our classmates and our lecturers. And we're usually required to have printed posters, handmade models, and sometimes booklets. So I'm going to take you through my design major from last year. So last year I did 3 different design projects, 2 in the start of the year, and then we all did a design major in the second half, which was quite a big deal. You work towards it from the beginning of the course, and I chose to do a daycare. So I have worked in childcare while I was studying. I actually work at Little Citizens through the Methodist Mission. So I had a really good insight into how to design a daycare, what the kids need, what could be improved, and what I want to do better. So this was my hero image for my project. The whole project was focused around how can architecture positively influence the development of young children, in particular motor development. So I used a very creative use of stairs and ramps that actually makes up the entire classroom. So the children are sitting on different floor levels and constantly working on balance and coordination. So this is what I call a render. It's basically a pretty picture that gives a really good overview of how the design feels. This is a slightly more technical drawing I did for it. It's called an exploded view, which means I pulled the roof up and I pulled walls off so that you can see inside really clearly how it's laid out. So this is just the preschool classroom, sort of split into 4 sections, working its way up the hill. Here's 2 more pictures. So we've got a little reading nook, and that one is of the nursery, which is a separate space to the preschool. I also designed the whole exterior playground and deck with a veranda so that they can still play outside when it's raining. And that's just another image from in the sandpit. I really like that, looking back on the building and seeing the structure on the verandas. So I'll give you a little bit of detail now on how I actually produce these drawings. There's a lot of work that goes into producing something like that most people don't really understand how you get to that point. So I can't really show you the first step because I don't have any images of it. The first step is this, but black and white, and that is a picture I took straight from my computer model. Then I get the exact same spot, but only the shadows. The software is so smart, you can say it's in Dunedin and it's facing this way, and it will give you shadows at any time of the day, and they are correct. Then I pop it into another whole software to allocate colours, and then I transfer to a different software, Photoshop, which you might know. That's the final one down there, and that's where I add shadows on top. So I just slap it on top, and I also put materials on it. So I get an image of sand, and I Photoshop the sand on top of the wee yellow spot, and each log I got an image of wood and Photoshopped wood onto each individual log. And me being a perfectionist and a little bit over the top, I added individual extra shadows between each log with a little paintbrush. Oh, don't forget the people. The people's the last thing that go on top. I drew those by hand on a book and then took a photo, slapped it on top. That's just another example. When I take it from my computer, I like to put really simple, bold colours so that I know what is supposed to be different materials, and then combine the shadows. On this one, I have a few different things I added. So I added some artwork on the walls, and I thought it would be funny if I put my own artwork from when I was a toddler. So I went into my preschool books and took pictures of my sloppy artwork and put it on the walls of the daycare. And I also drew the reflection into the mirror myself. So this is the floor plan of my design. It's a very heavily designed floor plan to look nice on a poster. So that's not the sort of floor plan you would normally get from an architectural office. So this area is the main preschool that I was talking about, and then you have the garden and playground. And then the big square is communal area and staff areas, and then up the top is the nursery on its own that can be joined through the dining area and playground. This is a picture of me at my final presentation. So for our design major, we had a panel of external architects come in to listen and grade our project. It was very, very nerve-wracking, and I had been nervous for it since year one, and everyone has been. So the juniors, year ones and twos come and watch as well. It's quite a big deal. I had to go last, which was horrible. I felt so sick all day long. So for this, I had 3 A0 posters professionally printed. I had 2 models, so one sitting up here that I'm sure you can have a look at after. That one's just reasonably simple site topography with the mass of my building. I had a more detailed joinery unit that I designed, a model of that, and then I had an A3 booklet of research and concept drawings. Yeah, there's a model up here. Oh, yeah. So that's the same model. And then my wee joinery unit. Yeah. And it went well, so that's good. This is another one of my designs from the first half of the year. It's a much more abstract design. It's for a ferry terminal for the ferry that goes from Port Chalmers to Portobello. And it consists of a series of Corten steel walls that are curved, and they guide the users around the space. So there's, a toilet and a wee office and some bike charging stations, and so similar way that I rendered this one. That's straight from my computer, already with the shadows. And then from my site analysis early on, I managed to get a picture of the exact same angle of my computer model so that I could slap it in the background, and it gives a lot of context to the render. So you can see the hills in the background, and then in Photoshop I added gravel and colour and people. So this is an example of my posters that I made for this project. There's 2, one on the left and one on the right. I had 4 renders, and then my 2 different floor plans Again, they're very nice looking floor plans, presentation worthy. And then I have a site location map, shows the two sites in relation to each other. And then I have all of my elevations. So elevations are a flat image of a building from the north, south, east and west, and it gives a really good understanding of what it looks like from each direction. These are the physical models I made for it. They were very complex and I'm really proud of them. Luckily at our building we have a laser cutter, and you wouldn't be able to really make something like that without a laser cutter. You have another computer software which I get the topography from, and then I create a file, send it to the laser cutter, and a laser will cut exactly the lines out of a piece of wood, and then I can stack them up, glue them together, and you've got the topography. And then I spray painted it white so that it looks clean. Yeah. To do the specific one, I left gaps in the wood, little thin 5mm gaps, so that I could slot card in it as my walls. That's just another picture of me at one of my presentations. That was at the start of the year for another whole design project I did. Again, 3 A0 posters and a huge model. Yeah.
What sort of feedback did you get from the architects, or were you too nervous to remember it?
Luckily, basically all positive. It can vary so much. In previous years, people have been left crying. Someone from my year was left crying. I somehow have always got very nice feedback, which I'm very grateful for. One comment was the orientation of one of my images looked like it was the other way around, and they weren't quite sure which way it goes or something, but too bad. Okay, so that was the design part, and now I'll talk a bit about the documentation side of things. So the documentation is the probably biggest amount of work that an architecture firm does. Every building needs building consent, and to get building consent, you have to submit a document of pages and pages of technical drawings to show exactly how the building's going to be put together. So a lot of building consent applications will have over 100 pages of technical drawings with them. So in my second year, we did a big documentation project that went right from the start of the year till the end of the year, and we had to model a commercial building that was given to us and then produce a set of technical drawings for it. So my set had 25 A1 pages of technical drawings, which we had to print out for some reason. So this is one of them. This is the external elevations. So same thing, just a flat image, north, east, south and west. And then you'll put annotation on it, saying what type of material it is, where it comes from, if it's custom made, how it fits on, that sort of thing. So this is a technical floor plan. Nowhere near as beautiful as the floor plans I would put on a poster, but this is the type of floor plan that would go to building consent from an architectural office. So there's lots of tables. That's probably light. The tables show like what type of carpet it is, what type of wall it is, what type of paint on the wall there is, like so much detail. This is a slightly different technical drawing. This is for a custom desk that I designed for the reception. So I had 3 pages of details showing how the desk is built and put together. And that's all I have about my course. So I'll tell you what I'm doing now. Currently, I have not yet found an architecture job, but I'm looking very hard. I'm working part-time in childcare, as I have done the past 3 years. So I still work at Little Citizens Daycare sometimes, and then I also do before and after school care for Fairfield School. I'm looking all over New Zealand for a job. The architecture industry had a very bad year last year, and a lot of people got laid off, and so I need to sort of wait until it picks up a bit more. I'll be looking for a job as an architectural technician, as that's what I'm qualified to do. So that means I will be spending all of my time doing that at a desk. That's fine by me. And yeah, so if you want a job as an architect or doing the designing of the buildings, you would probably need to do your master's, and then it would take about 5 years after that before you can then apply to become a registered architect. And that's a bit of a process as well. Yeah, so actually the Polytech that I went to has just started accepting masters, and they had their first masters graduate last year. So I could do it here, but I'm not keen on it. I'm very ready to just earn some money and stop studying. I'm sorry to say I have retired from dancing. I did 17 years, and I just felt like I just needed to stop. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure too. Yeah, definitely. Architecture makes you do a lot of public speaking. You know, doing presentations to everyone over and over until you're not shy. Yeah, I have not had much desire to work for the council. Um, Not really. I am also looking at jobs like kitchen design, because I would be qualified to do that. I can do other design jobs like interior design and that sort of thing. So I am also looking at those jobs. Yeah.
Celia, could I ask you about AI? I know nothing about AI. But is this what's impacted on architecture, or is it the economy?
Um, AI is really, really scary. And in the design profession, there's mixed opinions. People sometimes love it because it can be helpful. I've had a good go with AI on Photoshop, and it's pretty hilarious and quite fun actually, but also scary in that it could take a lot of jobs. Like make me a building that does this, this, this. That's my job. But, I think it will still be a while before it can actually do things like produce scale correct technical drawings, that's for sure. But yeah, a lot of people have used AI to help their rendering, like, make this pink. It's pretty easy, yeah. Yeah, so we have a 3D printer as well. A lot of people liked to use that, and you had to get in pretty early, and there's a big roster for it because it's so slow. Making a tiny thing will take hours of it going round and round. And it's pretty good, really, but you can't make anything big because it's a small thing, and it's just plastic, it comes out plastic, so looks a bit cheap. Um, if you have like a multi-million dollar one, probably, but we just had quite a small one at our building. Yeah.
Celia, have you thought of approaching Market 10 or Bunnings and offering your services to design kitchens for them?
Yep, I have seen quite a few ads actually because my job search is quite refined. It keeps telling me to apply to work at Mitre 10, but it doesn't really appeal to me that much. I want a nice, cute wee office somewhere with a view. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In your course, did you have to learn different building techniques and joinery techniques?
Um, I wish they did more of that. A lot of that ended up like we had to research it ourselves. And so, honestly, the people who did quite well were people who researched their own new building techniques and applied that and showed how to do it. Wasn't really me most of the time, but yeah.
I would have thought they would have taught that, so that if you're designing something, you need to know that it could be.
Yeah, we did a big few projects in first year construction. We did several projects on timber built houses, so we did get quite a foundation in like quite simple building methods. And then when it gets into especially commercial, they just say, well, it's the engineer's job, not ours. It's good to know, but you don't need to know in too much detail.
Did you have to do financial constraints, or it didn't really matter?
That's something I really wish they did do, financial constraints. Um, yeah, they didn't. They didn't. And so there was never a budget, and so it was sometimes a bit silly. That Corten steel thing I designed, there's no way that would ever be built because Corten steel is so expensive. Like Dunedin wouldn't build that. Maybe in Dubai. Yeah, so we did a lot about accessibility and like always for every project we had to make sure our buildings were accessible, and there's a lot more like we need to know quite a lot of the building code, and in more recent years there's a lot more rules about especially accessibility, so any new builds that go through building consent have to check the box in so many accessible ways. So yeah. Mhm. Hmm. So we just followed the guidelines in the building code with making sure we had enough exits. That's a big one for the number of people that's going to be. Like upstairs, you need to have two main ways of getting up and down on both sides of the building, like ramps, stairs, lifts, fire escapes, those sorts of things. Yeah.
Can I just add something there? On Sunday we noticed that they'd removed a window along the back here, and the reason for that is that when we got the hall upgraded they had to do a complete fire check for the whole building including the church, and they're going to put an extra door in our windows there.
Hmm.
ridiculous to me, but that's a fire. Hopefully that can recover them quite to the hall.
Yeah, no, it's all part of
It's all part of the
the
build of the church.
yeah, where the curtains are, they're going to remove. They've already removed one of those panels. That panel there is going to become a door, a new door.
Yeah.
What part of the architectural process did you enjoy most?
Rendering, making the pretty pictures. Absolutely. I spent just days, I'd spend an entire day just drawing little shadows in, and I loved it. Yeah. And putting the people in, that's fun. Yeah. Cam? Um, Probably come back to the architect, go back to the plans, I guess. Depends if they've made the problem or not. Yeah. Favorite building? I honestly don't know. And if you ask me if I have a favorite style, just good architecture, it's so hard to say favorite style or whatnot. I'm not a huge fan of all the new builds of houses, no character, little white boxes. They're rubbish. Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm quite interested in restoration. So there's some architecture firms that just do interior fit outs rather than building a new house. They'll just work with the shell, they'll do some upgrades, and they'll keep the character, which is what I really like. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And because there's a lot of heritage buildings, you can't do anything with those. So, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Celia, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, you came to fellowship as a ballet dancer.
Yep.
And you took our breath away. You really did, with your poise and skill. And now we see a whole nother new creative side of you. And in my mind, you're just a total package.
Thank you.
I loved being a physiotherapist. In that first thing, in her first diagram, she said, I'm worried about the motor skills of the young children. And I love the idea of the steps and the slopes and the different areas and how you brought the outside in and the inside
Yeah.
and the inside out. I thought this is somebody who really understands sort of both physical and cognitive development.
Yeah.
There's only one little thing that hurt me.
Yeah.
And that's when I heard you not dancing.
Yep.
But I just know it's temporary, isn't it?
Sure.
It's just temporary, and that you're going to go back to that, because I think if we look in our archives, just as I've got a picture today, I think we've got a lovely picture of you dancing in the hall. As I said at the beginning, I think it's special. You're the fourth generation, aren't you? A great Methodist women. going to go on and have 19 children.
I hope not.
Like Susanna Wesley. But, I just thought, as we said at the beginning, your great-grandmother said that this fellowship had to be for education. And I think we've all been educated in architectural design today. I had no idea of the complexities of it. So we wish you well, and it's just a wee bit of something to suck on there while you're doing those beautiful, when you're sitting all day drawing shadows.
Yeah.
Perfectly right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much
Thank you.
for today.